Presenting now is Adeolu Ogunsanya. He holds a Master of Arts and a PhD in African Music from the University of Ibadan, Nigeria. One of his pedagogical interests is the intercultural use of traditional musical instruments, especially the Yoruba dundun talking drum, in music performances. He is a senior lecturer in the Department of Music, University of Ibadan, where he instructs in courses such as Rudiments and Theory of Music, Performance Workshop, as well as Orchestration and African Music for undergraduate students. He is presenting Ayan Agalu Songobi, Redefinition of the socio-cultural worldview of the contemporary artistic surrogacy of the Yoruba dundun talking drum.
Yeah, thank you very much. And good day, everyone. Let me first confess that this presentation is on an ongoing research project. Okay. Thank you. And it's from my observation of the way people have been talking about traditional musical instruments, especially the talking drum, or let me say Yoruba talking drums, and dundun as a focus here now. When they say talking drum, they believe dundun only talks or speaks in surrogate version or manner. However, this speech of the talking drum recently has really advanced to go above what the people generally have cornered in that corner that people have placed it. Dundun does not only talk now, but Dundun also speaks, and that is the reconfiguration that I have found out that is there, and that is what I'm currently working on it. The Dundun talking drum, with its deep historical roots within Yoruba culture, is one of the most culturally versatile and semistically dense instruments within the West African musical corpus from ancient times. Characterized by its hourglass shape and a double-sided membrane interconnected by leather tension cords, the instrument possesses a singular capacity to replicate the contour of the pitch-accented tritonal Yoruba language. It was traditionally used as a means of communication with a skilled drummers able to convey complex messages through its unique tonal patterns. The drum also held ceremonial importance, being an integral part of traditional rituals, festivals, and social gatherings. Its significance lies in the role as a medium for preserving and disseminating Yoruba history, folklore, and cultural traditions. Historically, this acoustic malleability elevated the dundun from a mere musical instrument to an active speech surrogate, that is, a non-human larynx capable of projecting panegyrics, historical annals, and philosophical dictum over vast geographic distances. As such, the dundun drum has been revered as a symbol of cultural continuity and pride, embodying the essence of Yoruba identity. At the center of this performance matrix are two primary conceptual pillars. That is the name, Ayan Agalu Songobi. Ayan Agalu is the deified primordial ancestor of all Yoruba drummers, recognized as the spiritual custodian of the drum's physical and metaphysical voice. Parallel to this is the Songobi, an esoteric operational construct denoting the traditional canon of ancestral rhythmic phrases, structural compositions, and the foundational aesthetics law governing authentic speech surrogacy. Thus, Ayan Agalu Songobi is a revered spiritual lineage cognomen of the music god in Yoruba culture. By extension, Ayan also refers to master drummers who hold deep knowledge of Yoruba tradition and play a sacred role in Yoruba spiritual and ancestral practices. This spiritual framework underpins the Ayan hereditary lineage, a sacred guild of craftsmen and performers who inherit the mysteries of the drum. However, the contemporary era has redefined this socio-cultural worldview of the contemporary artistic surrogacy of the Yoruba talking drum. This has led to shifting economic realities, rapid urbanization, and global digital dispersion that challenge these classical frameworks. Contemporary Dundun drummers are no longer restricted to traditional settings like royal palaces or local communal rites. Instead, they navigate recording studios, traditional jazz fusion stages, hip-hop production tracks, and secular social spaces. This transformation raises two critical ethnomusicological questions. What is the drum's historical significance as a medium for oral storytelling, spiritual connection, and community cohesion? Secondly, how do the spiritual imperatives of Galu and the structural boundaries of Songobi adapt when the talking drum functions within globalized multisonic environment? Therefore, this study explores the evolution, arguing that modern artistic surrogacy expand the sociocultural worldview of the Dudus, transforming it into an active tool for contemporary identity construction and linguistic preservation. The study is grounded in a dual theoretical matrix combining Moleficate's Asante's theory of Afrocentricity and Emile Beneviste's theory of semiotic surrogacy. The theory of Afrocentricity for this paper project that the lens repositions African cultural phenomena within their own historical, linguistic, and spiritual agency, rather than treating them as a passive anomalies under Western analytical models. In this article, Afrocentricity ensures that Galu is analyzed not merely as a mythological trope, but as an active epistemological framework that dictates the moral and professional codes of the contemporary drummer. While the semiotic surrogacy evaluates the mechanics of how nonverbal media replicates human speech and tracing the translation of lexical tones of the Yoruba, the low, mid, high, or the re-mi of the Yoruba speech, and glides into adjustment in physical tension on the Yoruba leather tongue. By merging these two paradigms, the paper develops a model of what I call dynamic surrogacy. This concept accounts for how the Dundu's voice shifts from its traditional literal speech mimicking role to an evocative artistic surrogacy. In this space, contemporary rhythm signifies broader socio-political statements, even when disconnected from its literal texts. Yoruba and Dudun drumming arts. In its traditional context, the Dudun drum served as a more than just a musical instrument. It was a means of oral communication and storytelling. Skilled drummers known as Ayan in Yoruba tradition were able to mimic the tonal pattern of the Yoruba language, effectively talking through the drum. This unique form of communication allowed for the transmission of messages across long distances, serving as a vital means of communication in pre-colonial society. Furthermore, the Dudun drum accompanied various ceremonial events, including weddings, funerals, and royal processions, to name but a few, and adding a rhythmic and melodious dimension to these occasions. Its traditional use thus encompasses both practical communication and cultural expression, and cementing its central role in Yoruba social life. The art of drumming in Africa, and by extension in Yoruba land, is based on Nketiah's 1963 tripartite model, which involved the speech mode, whereby the drum imitates the speech pattern of an original language. And then the second is the signal mode, which is more poetical, where they just repeat a particular phrase several times for it to be understood by an interpretive audience. The last one is the dance mode, which is a combination of heightened pattern of melodic rhythms that trigger psychomotive gestures in the audience. And any drummer who can perform these three modes effectively is referred to as the master drummer. A good drummer can effectively and effortlessly perform any of these modes on his instrument, as anything short of this is termed noise. It therefore behoves an experienced drummer to play in such a way that the interpretive community will not misconstrue the intended message he or she is trying to pass across. A Yoruba idiomatic expression says, "Kò sẹ́ni tó mèdè àyàn, bí ẹni tó mọ́pa ẹ̀ lọ́wọ́," which means no one can understand the language of the drum better than the drummer. Contemporary artistic surrogacy and structural adaptation of the dudun talking drum. The classical practice of speech surrogacy relied on a shared, highly localized linguistic competence between the master drummer and an audience steeped in oral traditions. In contemporary urban centers and global spaces, however, the artistic surrogacy of the dudun drum has experienced a renaissance, adapting to the changing socio-cultural landscape while retaining its essence. Modern musicians and artists have incorporated the dudun drum into diverse musical genres, blending traditional rhythms with contemporary sounds to create an innovative composition. This fusion of tradition and modernity has led to the dudun drum gaining recognition on global platforms, transcending its traditional boundaries to reach new audiences. For example, in 2018, Janet Jackson used dudun drum in the opening track of her album entitled Made for Now. Additionally, the symbolic significance of the dudun drum has been reinterpreted in visual arts, literature, cultural performances, and reflecting its enduring relevance as a cultural emblem. Its contemporary adaptation thus reflects a dynamic interplay between tradition and innovation, showcasing the resilience and adaptability of Yoruba cultural expressions. This has forced a reconfiguration of the instrument's mechanical and artistic output. One of the shifts is from literal speech to micro-melodic motifs. Rather than rendering long historical oriki narrative verbatim, contemporary dudun practitioners now often distill dense linguistic statements into compact melodic hooks. This approach is highly visible in modern Nigerian genres like Afrobeats, Fuji, and neo-traditional gospel genres. The dudun drum functions simultaneously as a percussive timekeeper and a harmonic counter melody, operating within standard Western or electronic system without losing its microtonal character. The second shift is the territorialization of guild identity. The Anyo identity was traditionally hereditary, that is passed down patrilineally from within specific drumming compounds. However, today, institutionalized academic music programs and open digital spaces have democratized access to the instrument. Secular players without ancestral ties to Anyo galu now master the drum. Interestingly, rather than erasing the deity, these non-hereditary players also often adopt the Ayan prefix to their name or pay symbolic homage to Ayan galu. This step serves as a professional validation mechanism, demonstrating that the spiritual paradigm has expanded into a global conceptual framework. The redefinition of the Dudun's worldview highlights a continuous dialogue between tradition and modernity. Far from representing cultural decay, the modern iteration of Songobi displayed a high degree of artistic agility. When a contemporary drummer loops a Dudun sequence over an electronic dance baseline, a complex semiotic layering occurs. To an uninitiated global audience, the drum provides an exotic rhythmic timbre, but to a literate Yoruba listener, however, the underlying pitch contours continue to convey subtext, warnings, or blessings. This dual communication represents a form of coded resilience. Furthermore, this contemporary surrogacy serves as a vital safeguard against linguistic erosion, as the Yoruba language faces pressure from the dominance of global English among youth, and presence of the Dudun in popular youth music maintains an acoustic link to the traditional tonal structure. The Dudun drums act as an anchor for indigenous phonology, training the ears of the younger generations to recognize the tonal variation to the language. Scholars who have attempted using Dudun drums in their compositions Seun Waje in a group for the master drummer, Shekere Lobanjo, and Adeolu Omo Agbe, and also Akinyuba's Shaka Zulu. That is apart from the other contemporary popular music genres that have adopted Dudun drum in their music. In conclusion, the contemporary artistic use of Yoruba Dudun talking drum demonstrates the adaptability of indigenous African performance arts and represents a dynamic continuum of cultural expression that transcends temporal and spatial boundaries. Its redefined socio-cultural view encapsulates the enduring legacy of Yoruba heritage while embracing new forms of artistic interpretation. Through the dual lenses of Ayan galu Songobi, modern practitioners now preserve the sacred essence and foundational laws of their craft while successfully engaging with global musical ecosystems. By moving from purely literal speech replication to a broader symbolic and multisonic artistry, the Dudun maintains its relevance as a living communicative medium. Hence, future ethnomusicological research should still continue to explore how AI and advanced digital audio workstation might further archive, decode, or reshape the acoustic boundaries of this ancestral voice. Thank you very much.
Wow. Thank you so much, Doctor. So we can only take 3 short questions because of time. Okay, sir.
So brilliant, brilliant. I'm trying to understand. So Shongobi, is it a two-mode signifying system whereby it combines alujo-oriented patterns and surrogacy-oriented pattern. And this modern adaptation, does that mean de-emphasizing the surrogacy part of it, like Oriki and so on and so forth, and focusing more on the alujo mode of drumming? The kind of thing that Babatunde Olatunji did in the 1960s, were kind of a generic form of drumming that could generate cross-cultural, cross-national, even cross-continental audiences who may not understand Yoruba speech. Thank you.
Okay. Now, what is the configuration is about? It's not totally. Okay, it's not totally jettisoning what has been on ground, but now they are re-modifying what is there. They are not leaving the Oriki and all other traditional way of performing, but they are now adapting them to contemporary genres. For example, in Seun Waje's ode to the groove to the master drummer, what he did was to incorporate dudu and piano and voice. And what dudu does in that music is almost sounding like the piano, because he plays the dudu on the same key as the song, which initially was not like that. People believe dudu is a traditional musical instrument and should not be used or cannot be used for classical purposes. But Seun Waje has been able to do that. And in some no traditional music that we have nowadays, and even some popular contemporary music, you have to do actually singing songs to using Western scales, which means Dudu can actually work even with the piano or the guitar. That is the modern thing that they are putting. So they are not jettisoning, they are not putting it back, but they are actually upgrading what's on ground.
Yes. Dr. Osinikwe, please.
Thank you, sir, for this. But I want to suggest maybe next time, if we are doing this is a symposium, we could have seen a kind of a performance to make us understand exactly what some of us that are not Yoruba, when you're saying this, it's like you're hitting us on our head and we don't know what you're hitting. You're saying, using terms that we don't understand. But if we are able to see it, we understand, is this what you're saying? And then we can apply it. You can say, okay, let me use this. Because you're just talking to us via paper and then, we're trying to imagine all these things. That's number one. Then your mode of presentation, you're not talking to us. You were reading to us. I don't think you must tell us this is what you are doing, what you know. So speak to us and not to read thank you very much. That's my observation. Thank you.
Okay.
Well done, Mr. Presenter. I want to bring this knowledge. A colleague of mine did a research on Ibra music. I come from Okene. And by the time I was interviewing the custodian of the instrument, they said most of the instruments that they were constructing now has lost their traditional values because their young people who are just making the instrument without the normal rituals that were don't you think something like that is happening to the drum? Because I have a neighbor, a neighbor person producing our drum. Can we say that one? We know the ritual. So, right from the origin.
Practice to build the right to do for use. Yeah, of course, people see, just like when you want to buy any product in the market, there is the original and there's the fake. So you can buy the fake and you can buy the original. The original, exactly for the talking drums, will usually be made by the professional drum makers.
It's okay.
Okay, so we can only take two more from Dr. Authority and Mr. Bankole. Very short, please. Thank you so much.
Thank you for the presentation, quite insightful. I would like to ask, are there attempts, aside from the ethnomusicological perspective, from the compositional perspective, are there attempts to notate these drum patterns that we can pass it to people out there, like my friend said, who are not from the culture, and they can read and interpret? Do we have such?
He actually notated what he wanted the talking drummer to play, but he used the conventional notation, which of course anyone who is fast in the that type of reading can manipulate its way on the group. But of course, there's also the limitation to that. But you can produce the real tone that the composer intended, you will be a drummer. If not, there's no way you can get the.
Thank you so much. Please, can we give ourselves a round of applause?